Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about reasons you shouldn't become a software developer. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about these things is that STEM is kind of everywhere. When I was a high school teacher, the emphasis on science and technology was just absolutely massive. And so I think we can easily have this idea that everyone should learn to code, which I heard a lot when I was in education. And it's kind of seeped into the broader culture of like, oh, everyone should become a software engineer almost. And I don't think that's actually the case as much as I love coding. So I wanted to talk about several reasons that are not great motivations for becoming a software developer. Now, I should say before I get into these that they're all good things. All the things I'm going to talk about are good things in and of themselves, but I don't think they're great motivations for making like a whole career change. Okay, so let's get into the first and maybe the most obvious reason for becoming a developer that I don't think is really actually that good of a reason, and that is money. So it's kind of no secret at this point that in general in the tech industry, the salaries are good. Technical skills are in demand, and due to kind of the lack of people that have sufficient skills, it's created this more or less big demand for people that are able to do these jobs. And as a result as well of kind of the whole venture capital thing, these huge valuations in tech companies, the salaries in tech have just continued to rise. There's nothing wrong with having a great salary. I'm totally in favor of that, but it's a poor reason to become a developer. And the reason it's not a great primary motivation for becoming a developer is that that basically has nothing to do with what you are going to be doing in your day-to-day. Like the fact that developer jobs pay well has nothing to do with doing development itself. And so I think anybody that's considering becoming a developer should focus on development and not necessarily some of these ancillary things, as important as they may be. I think money is important. I think availability of jobs is important, but it's not kind of the main thing. Because if you hate what you're doing all day long, I think I can promise you that it won't matter that you're making great money. Second reason you shouldn't become a developer is that it seems glamorous or prestigious. For a lot of us, just even the word engineering is like, oh, prestige, and it sounds like very cool. And that's great, I guess, but again, not a great motivation for becoming a developer. It comes back around again to the nature of the actual work. Like, it may be cool to have a prestigious sounding title, but if you don't like what you're actually doing day to day, I question how much that actually matters. And on the glamour side, I think we kind of have this popular notion of software engineers just being in a cool office, maybe not so much anymore, but that kind of used to be the case, getting all this catered food. You've seen these videos of the tours of the Facebook office and the tours of the Google office, and it just seems very awesome and glamorous, and the companies kind of lure you in to a certain extent with these perks like the food and the gym and the nap pods and all that kind of stuff. And again, those are great, but to me have nothing to do with the actual nature of writing code all day. In general, I think glamour and prestige is a trap. There's always another rung to climb. There's always another promotion to get. There's always another thing. And so in general in life, I would encourage people not to kind of stake your happiness or self-worth on those things, but I think they're also poor motivations for making big career decisions. A third kind of bad reason for becoming a developer is that you don't know what else to do. I think you see this probably most often in coding boot camps. I can remember in my own boot camp, there were a few people there that kind of just ended up there because they were at a crossroads, maybe in life or a career, didn't really know what else to do, and just thought, hey, this sounds good enough. And I think that can work for some people, but the whole theme here again, right, is that you want this to be an intentional decision that you're making with the aim of enjoying the actual work. Ideally, you know you're going to enjoy the work because you've tried it and it's not just something that you're kind of doing on a whim. I think it's a really, really big decision, so it's important to know that you're actually going to be passionate about the work on a day-to-day basis. And so again, it can work for some people, but I think kind of making this decision on a whim or because you don't know what the next step is, not a great move. So I would avoid this. And then the last reason to not become a developer is that you think you'll have a life of ease. And it's again back to that stereotype of the tech worker. It's like you come into this glamorous office and you have this huge monitor set up and you're just, typing and catered Middle Eastern food or whatever, and, unlimited snacks and unlimited PTO, which is a trap. But in my experience, like coding is hard. Learning to code is hard. Coding on a day-to-day basis is hard. Coding under deadlines is hard. It's just difficult. And so making this change in the expectation that you're going to have a life of ease is pretty misguided, I think. Now, it's nothing like doing manual labor and digging ditches sewers or trenches or working in a coal mine. And I think it's important to acknowledge the privilege that we have to work in the tech industry and to have jobs that allow us to use our minds rather than our bodies, though some people prefer to get outside and be active and use their body in their work. So I don't mean to make it sound like, oh, it's so difficult, but there are challenges in this work. And so I think doing anything because you think it's going to be easy, if you're right, means it's probably not worthwhile. And if you're wrong, means you've set false expectations for yourself. So the whole point here is to really examine yourself, examine your own motivations. Why do you want to become a developer? Have you tried to write code yet? I think that's a pretty good indication of whether or not it'll be a good match. And so whenever anybody asks me, should I become a developer? Should I go to a boot camp? I always tell people, start with your motivations and then try writing code. And if you feel like you have the right motivations and you enjoy it, then go right ahead. And that's really kind of the whole point with everything I've said. So hope you found this helpful. If you're still here, you'd probably like the rest of my channel, which focuses on code, self-improvement, and personal finance. Please feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.